connecting ideas, creating impact, and charting global pathways. Good morning, everyone, and a very warm welcome to this session of Voices of University Governance, a CIPU Knowledge Dialogue Series. I am Professor Dr. Meena Kapahi, Director, Office of International Affairs and Professor at the School of Sciences, and it's my privilege to extend this warm welcome on behalf of Manav Rachna University to all our esteemed panelists for this important dialogue. Our discussion today is centered on a topic of great significance: internationalization of Indian universities, strategies, partnerships, and pathways. Before we begin, let me take a moment to introduce the Confederation of Indian Private Universities, CIPU, the driving force behind this initiative. CIPU is dedicated to advancing knowledge, fostering collaboration, and creating platforms where academic leaders can come together to discuss transformative ideas. The Knowledge Dialogue Series underlines CIPU's commitment to shaping the future of Indian higher education through shared insights and collective wisdom. Aligned with this vision, Manav Rachna University proudly hosts today's session. MRU is a state private university offering a wide spectrum of programs at the UG, PG, and doctoral levels. The university is deeply committed to an industry-led and sustainability-driven approach, ensuring that our graduates are not only academically strong but also are future ready and globally competent. In recognition to its inclusive and progressive environment, MRU has been recently certified as a Great Place to Work organization. So, hosting today's session is a natural extension of our commitment to building bridges across borders. We are honored to have with us today a distinguished panel of leaders who lead the international division at their respective institutions, playing a key role in internationalization strategies and collaboration. We have with us today Professor Dr. Reshu, Sanan. Dr. Reshu serves as a professor in the Department of Prosthodontics with an experience of over 13 years as Additional Dean International Relations at SGT University. In this capacity, she has been instrumental in shaping the university's internationalization strategy in line with the NEP 2020. Her role in internationalization includes strengthening MOUs, mobility programs, and collaborative research initiatives with the universities worldwide. And with over 50 publications and active participation in professional bodies, she blends academic rigor with international leadership. Thank you, ma'am, for being here. Dr. Mamta Kathuria. Dr. Kathuria is an associate professor and director International Affairs Cell at J.C. Bose University of Science and Technology, YMCA, Faridabad, with over 17 years of teaching experience. Now, Dr. Kathuria received her PhD in computer engineering for J.C. Bose University in 2019. She has authored more than 50 research papers published in international journals and conferences, including those indexed in SCI, Scopus, ESCI, and UGC. Professor Dr. Bhawna, with over 30 years of experience, Professor Bhawna Kumar is presently Director TNE and Institutional Partnerships at Acumen, part of Sanan S4, and has contributed meaningfully to the areas of institution building, international collaborations, academic administration, accreditations, project management, consultancy, research, teaching, and training. In her 19 years of experience at Amity Education Group, she managed strategic decisions in her growth from 200 to 1,80,000 students across multiple campuses and over 200 foreign partnerships. Dr. Bhawna holds a degree, Bachelor of Engineering, PGDM and PhD in Management with a focus on internationalization of higher education, and is closely working with Niti Aayog, IIT Madras and AIU on upcoming report on policy and roadmap of internationalization of higher education in India. Dr. Meenakshi Gujral Dr. Meenakshi is a corporate trainer, consultant and subject matter expert to companies for fostering business development, sales and marketing strategies. Now, Dr. Meenakshi holds a master's degree in resource management and extension from Delhi University, a higher post-graduation from Michigan State University, USA, and a PhD in business model innovation and green sustainability from the University of Witwatersrand, South Africa. A seasoned public speaker, she has graced both national and international platforms with her dynamic insights. She is currently Director, International Relations and Associate Professor of Marketing at K.R. Mangalam University, and with over 19 years of experience in research and academics, she has worked with leading global universities and institutions across India, South Africa and Singapore. So welcome everyone. We are extremely thankful to Ms. Saloni, lead events and knowledge initiatives at CIPU, who has been instrumental in coordinating this dialogue. Now, our conversation today will touch upon how Indian universities can strengthen their global presence, can strategize to initiate these global partnerships, develop meaningful partnerships and create opportunities that benefit students, faculty and academic community. So with this, let us begin this dialogue. Now, my first question is for Dr. Meenakshi. So in your view, what are the most critical drivers for Indian universities to pursue internationalization today?
Thank you, Professor Meena, and thank you to CIPU for providing this opportunity. A special thanks to Ms. Saloni, and I think this is a fantabulous platform where we are sharing our thoughts and and initiatives that we have taken up at our individual institutions and organizations. So thank you so much, and thank you, Professor Meena, for felicitating this host. So coming to the question, internationalization, in my point of view, is no more a choice for the universities. It is basically a very much strategic necessity now, and particularly when we see that there is a lot of global competition that is rising. And each university, whether it's Indian or a foreign, we are striving to deliver students who are highly global competent. And when we come down to the drivers or the reasons behind that, what can give a push to the internationalization in particular university or in our home university based in India, I think one of the major factor that comes through is the NEP 2020, which is really put up like a policy push for all the universities and making it like a, not a choice, as I said. It's like something that we must indulge into it for a better, the product that we are looking at. The policy, encourages you to get into, associations with the foreign partners. It pushes you to sign MOUs, and not just symbolic, but something which is symbiotic in relationship and something which is more, sustainable, and also pushes you for research collaborations, also pushes you for inward and outward mobility of the students. So not just that we sending our students right from short immersions for few days of engagement, but also looking at the, more brighter and a bigger career prospects, let's say, or more higher education, masters or abroad. And also the inward mobility, where I think increasingly most, institutions in India are particularly, becoming self-reliant in a way that in the global market, that they are able to host the students of the foreign university. So we are able to provide them a curriculum which is very much globalized. And so that's also one of the drivers, I say. And also to say that, there are a lot new research initiatives and collaborations that has come up, particularly not just within among the faculty members, but also the the ministries and the government, which is pushing us to apply for grants. There is more availability of the grants now, and also encouraging at the same point of a time to involve our current students, make them as a part of the research journey. So NAP also gives that kind of a feasibility where they have structurized the programs in a way that a student is just not doing a simple bachelor's, but also graduating with a bachelor's with research. So there is a huge chance that, the same student can be involved, be a part of the research in the collaboration side. So that is also one of the key drivers in my opinion. Also, it is able to enhance the global skills, create more employability among the students, our students, Indian students. And somewhere I somehow feel that, there is a soft power that India is developing in form of following up a very clear path on the internationalization of the Indian universities. So that's my short take.
Thank you. And have you seen, apart from these policy push, have you seen any demand from students which has increased over the years, or have you seen any kind of trend?
Absolutely. I think it's like I see, like, it's been over more than now 3 years. I am with my present university, KR Mangalam. Within the last 3 years itself, when we started, when my office started the first short engagement, like an immersion program to the foreign university in UK. So we had a small group, so small cohort going in, and when they came back, they were double the numbers who wanted to go. So within the 6 months, the next one that we gave an opportunity, I think we crossed double the number. In fact, we struggled. We wanted to now be very choosy about who we would like to send. So we tried to make it very competitive. So August, we came back from one of the foreign university partner from UK, and we took a cohort. And this time we were very selective and we made it very competitive. So almost close to 500 students actually sat for that competitive exam. And out of those 500 students, we narrowed down a small, smart group of 20. So that was a huge task, of course. But at the same time, I was amazed when so many students wanted to go and they wanted to be, part of this cohort, and they wanted to have this exposure of internationalization and, having a great feeling to be just sitting in a foreign professor's class and experiencing a different teaching pedagogy altogether. Definitely, that really creates, a kind of at least a thought process among the students. And more importantly, I see that the employers in India as well, the industry also demands the same. Yeah. So internationalization is actually bridging a gap. So when the same students actually go, for applying for the jobs, they stand a better chance because they definitely portray themselves as more globalized, more resilient, more adapted, and more, having a cultural acceptance. That is so important, because no matter what, I say this to my students as well, no matter what, whether you do an engineering degree, whether you do a master's in business administration, you pick up a pharmacy, you pick up a psychology degree, ultimately you're going to join a business only. We are also part of business. So we're looking at, education, training of the education. And however, ultimately, they will be all be part of the businesses in well. So they need to work in global environment tomorrow. And this is the right time when they are studying, give them an exposure, an appropriate exposure, so that they become ready, they become job ready in the future.
And also the students become not only globally competent, but they become culturally adaptive. Absolutely. Also. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. Thank you. Thank you, ma'am. So, Dr. Reshu, from your experience, what are the main challenges Indian universities face when entering into global alliances, and how can these be addressed effectively?
Thank you, ma'am. First and foremost, let me thank Dr. Meena, and I thank CIPU and Saloni for getting us together and having this dialogue. I think it is one of the most relevant dialogues in today's time. So thank you for that. So I have like a 4-pointer. First and foremost, I think there are major financial constraints. Financial constraints are not really, the university cannot look at internationalization as a branding exercise. It cannot be put in there. It has to be strategically involved. There has to be a strategic plan which goes into the highest level of the university. So starting top down, instead of, every time you approach your management for a certain commitment of funds or for a certain commitment from their end. So I think a financial model for internationalization is very, very important for one to understand that it has to be strategically involved from day one. Secondly, there is a commitment of sorts which is needed. So internationalization is like a arranged marriage. Your parents have to be involved. So you know, your trustees, your vice chancellor, they have to be involved from day one. Once they give an approval and there is a commitment of the kind of relationship that you're going to have with the other university, I think that is the only way it is going to become viable and acceptable university-wide. So the faculty will accept it, the students will understand, and when both the partners are together at the same level, it will be a successful partnership. I also have a pointer regarding, I think, universities which are going into internationalization. The faculty members in today's time, they have very limited exposure to internationalization. There is a problem that we face with our faculty not having that kind of a networking, our faculty not understanding how to deal, what to offer, what to speak to an international university when they come to the campus. So certain, you know, an exposure or a capacity building program for the international office, a capacity building program for the faculty members to make them understand why internationalization is the need of the hour. I completely agree with ma'am. It is not something that it is now a choice. It is not a choice anymore. You know, it is not something that certain universities are doing. You have to go ahead with it. Not only because NEP is, you know, has put that pressure, but also because it is the student demand, like you mentioned. Also because faculty that you need, you require faculty which has that broader mindset, all right? Another challenge I think that we face is that the students, they sometimes cannot afford an international exposure. So internationalization per se should not only be understood as a dual degree or a joint degree. Any university which is starting its internationalization journey should concentrate on short-term programs. That whatever short-term programs, immersions that we can do for our students could be starting from Southeast Asia, moving up to Europe, moving up to UK, US, Australia. Now students demand that, but when it comes to the money, they don't really want to afford it, or they cannot afford it, or they don't want to spend so much of money. It's either or. Of course, it's a different cohort of students altogether that want to spend that money, but they are very handful. So if you see in any university, there are about only 10 to 15% of students who actually want to spend that kind of money for internationalization. So in my idea, internationalization should be both ways. If we have students coming in to the university, if we have foreign student intake in the university, if we have foreign faculty where the university can invest, you know, upfront, and then possibly we can go on to giving exposure to our students abroad, that can work. Like ma'am said, they receive 500 applications. Now when we bring down these 500 applications to when we have to bring them down to 20, there are so many of them who actually are not able to either commit to the funds, so many of them who don't get visa, and in the kind of changing, I think the geopolitical scenario which is changing all around us, visa has become such a big issue.
Absolutely.
With our students, and you know, they have to show their financial background, etc. So sometimes that also becomes an issue which the international office has to deal with and delineate those students, inform them beforehand, and again, capacity building of faculty in this regard will help.
Definitely. So some of the key takeaways from what you said, that capacity building is again a major issue, like the students or the faculty members, they are not conditioned to this kind of international exposure. So they have to be, you know, conditioning has to be done. Secondly, if we are preparing students to send, you know, to be sent outside, so again their conditioning is also required, their exposure has to be there regarding, you know, cultural adaptability. So this is again, financial constraints are there, so capacity building has to be there again. And we should not be just talking about, you know, outward mobility. So inbound mobility or outbound mobility, both have to be there. I mean, it has to be reciprocal. Yeah, if we are inviting international faculty from outside, so our faculty should be given a chance to, you know, go there. And yeah.
And just to add to that, ma'am, Indian knowledge system is going to play a very big role in that.
True.
Whatever we can offer in Indian knowledge system on our campuses will play a very, very big role in inbound mobility, both for faculty and students.
I just want to quickly add, I really admire how Professor Reshu so beautifully put everything in 4 points. And I second you on that not just the capacity building of the faculty, in fact, overall, you know, I somehow feel that faculty is somebody who is so close to the students. Yes. They are the ones that students really look up to. So it is so important that the kind of internationalization understanding needs to be first inculcated to these change makers so that the students feel motivated when they look at them, and when they mentor you know, these students, they take a lot of inspiration from the faculty itself. So that's so crucial. Thank you for raising that point.
Yeah. And also when we talk of, you know, international office, so we are just handful of people who are working directly, you know, in connect with international universities or foreign partners. But these are the faculty members who are actually in connect with all the students. So they have to be sensitized first. They have to make that, you know, they have to be skilled, and they should be skilled enough to how to talk and what to, you know, convey to the students. So this is very important point. Yeah. So my next question goes to Dr. Mamta. So many MOUs remain on paper, like, you know, symbolic, as Dr. Meenakshi pointed out. So in your experience, how can universities ensure that these agreements lead to active collaborations?
First of all, I would like to thank Dr. Meena for organizing this event. I would like to thank CIPU and Ms. Saloni for hosting this event and gives us a chance to get together. MOUs is basically a communication tool, right? When two parties signed any MOU, then those MOUs, if they are stay locked in almiras or drawers, they are and create no impact, then there is no use of signing that MOUs, right? It can lead to active collaboration when having clear goals and active plans. For achieving this active collaboration, proper deadlines are set and proper progress is to be checked on regular basis, right? It can ensure the mutual benefit to both parties through defined academic, scientific and cultural projects. For active collaboration, every participant responsibility must be precisely defined, or we can say that basically the stakeholder who are designing or aligning those MOUs, they must ensure that everyone is interested in the outcome and they are motivated to contribute in this. With proper timelines, milestone and defined outputs, it serves as a living document that guide the partnership, that allowing regular reviews and realign for the continuous progress. The collaboration can include, like we can organize the faculty development program, as Ms. Reshu already talked, that we should have capacity building program, we should have faculty exchange program, we should organize some expert lectures, seminar, we should co-host or host some workshop together in collaboration with both parties, and we should organize we can go for joint degree program, we can go for twinning program, we can go for dual degree program under those MOUs, so that we can make them active. But the main focus should be on to actively work on it, so that.
So very, thank you ma'am, very rightly said. So MOUs should not be, you know, symbolic, but they have to be symbiotic, so wherein both the parties are getting benefited. So again, it has to be strategized properly, so we can follow this DMR as pointed out by Dr. Mamta, policy like having clear-cut deadlines, monitoring of whatever outputs are there, and periodic reviews of these, you know, the progress which is going on. So this is how we can, you know, activate these MOUs. Thank you so much, ma'am. Now the question goes to Dr. Bhawna. Considering recent trends, what is the impact of international collaborations on research and curriculum development in Indian universities?
Thank you so much, Dr. Meena, Manav, Rachna, and also CIPU, everybody here. It's a pleasure to be here for a subject which is very close to my heart. I have been in the industry for over 30 years, but Internationalization for me is neither a solo effect nor a halo effect. It is not something, as everybody has been reverberating, it is not something which is a choice, it is an imperative in all areas. And education, if we have to become the Vishwa Guru and the Viksit Bharat, it is an imperative. Before I come to the actual question of research, I just want to highlight internationalization is not only the concept of a dual degree or student mobility abroad. For me, internationalization is embedding the concept of best practices which are important in the curriculum, in the systems, in the process. It has to touch each and every heart, each and every soul and each and every mind. It is not about sending 100, 6,000, 10,000 students abroad or even inviting 10,000 students in. Internationalization has to be within the ecosystem. It has to be within the thought process. It has to be within the way we teach. It has to be within the way students learn. And that is for me the definition of internationalization. Hence, internationalization at home and internationalization abroad. There are two broad definitions in literature today. I am more concentrated always at internationalization at home because automatically that will lead to internationalization abroad. You look at what you are involving in terms of capacity building or faculty training or your dual degree, you will automatically have student mobility in and out, and that becomes one of the outcomes. The student voices, which you all mentioned as the key driver of internationalization, we recently did a study along with Times Higher Education at Acumen, and that was just published in 10,000 Voices. And there we very clearly again were able to come to the conclusion it is not the 2% of the students who are going abroad or are wanting to go abroad. It is the rest of the 98% learners, the next billion learners of India as we like to call them. We have about 43 million graduates out of our 1.4 billion population. If the 43 million graduates are only 28% of the gross enrollment ratio and the Viksit Bharat and our Vishwa Guru status says you have to make the gross enrollment ratio to 50%, then internationalization in each and every aspect of education, whether at K-12 or higher education level, is nothing but a imperative, absolute imperative. How does a collaboration help research? Initially, the research used to be at a faculty to faculty level, and people did not even know that a faculty was collaborating with another faculty. It was not that our researchers were not doing any research. Our faculty have been doing world-class research, and the testimony is the recently released also 2% scientist guidelines. We saw that yesterday released. It was already there. The objective was internationalization was not taken as the strategic intent. It is supposed to be a side office. If you look at all the roles that all of you are playing, you are teaching and you are doing international office. If I study the best practices of international affairs of a foreign university, the best practices that offices are 40, 50, 80, 100 people. Internationalization is not a added administrative responsibility. It has to be inherently and adequately understood to have a separate dedicated office with dedicated resources. And that office has to be responsible for integrating whether a faculty to faculty research is happening and taking it to the next level. One of the very classic examples and case studies, I was setting up an international office for an Indian university, and I realized that when a faculty was working with another faculty, student mobility automatically happened. Because if somebody is working with a Purdue professor or a professor in NUS, they have funds available on that particular project, and that is where British Council also gives grants in terms of UCARY schemes. How does it help our own curriculum? When we do any kind of a best practice, it is never on an individual level. It affects the whole family. You mentioned a marriage is not with the person, it is with the whole family, right? So internationalization as well is not a person to person level. Even if one faculty travels abroad, even if one faculty comes in, even if the whole international office becomes a proper admired office in the whole ecosystem, it touches all aspects and everybody gets motivated and inspired. How does that help research in particular? Because of the simple reason that when you are talking to anybody in the international ecosystem, they talk about proper R&D, they talk about proper research, they talk about adequate looking at an outcome, not the fact that you publish a paper and only 10 of you in the room are listening to each other. The quality of the research that is actually attractive is which actually renounce the world. You look at a Harvard research, everybody wants to read it. You look at the research that sometimes we produce, nobody wants to read it. If you bring in internationalization, you get inspired by the people who are doing it. You think together, your perspectives matter. You are able to work in an environment where the collaboration is touching each and every aspect, including research.
Yeah, very well said, Dr. Bhawna. So, it has to be, when we talk of internationalization, it has to be done strategically. So, we all agree to this point, and internationalization is not to be added as an, is not just as an added administrative responsibility. It has to be dealt separately by the entire office, and internationalization is something which has to be imbibed within the entire ecosystem of the university. It has to be there when we are teaching, the way we think, when faculty to faculty collaborations happen, be it research wise, automatically student mobility will happen. So, that is true. And now this question is relevant for the entire panel. If you have to identify one priority for the next 5 years to truly internationalize Indian higher education, what would that be, ma'am?
I think in my point of view, when we started like with the little baby steps. It started with very short-term engagements, with few days to months, and then slowly we moved to, moving towards twinning and, the dual. One of the things that I would like to focus, and for us is going to be more on the exchange side, and it's not just the outward mobility. Our focus is also on inward mobility, and we not just for long term, but also for short engagements, and focused more on the things which are very unique as in India we can provide to the foreign students. So I would like to just give a quick example here. We hosted a few months back a cohort from US, and it's a university, and we provided them a program which was a kind of a kind of an amalgamation of a cultural side of India, as well as our exposure towards the extension education in our 5 of the adopted villages that we have with the university. So their visits involved, their classroom teachings was focused on indigenous technologies that in India that is there, particularly towards the rural side. And then they, these villages work as a labs for them, where they actually had an experience, not just cultural differences, but also they could admire the indigenous technologies that are being used, whether it's agriculture, farming, or maybe even in day-to-day lives in their households. So this was something which was well appreciated, and something which was a kind of a unique blend, where in a kind of an exposure probably so that is so unique to our Indian culture, to our Indian heritage. So like, for example, even if you look at the buildings, our old structures are already, green buildings. Why do now we started focusing, going to concrete and then coming back, talking about the GRIA and talking about ratings and talking about the green buildings, but we were always green. Yeah. So we were always green, and we never needed air cons, we never needed. So those are the technologies I think we really need to go back and appreciate, and that is what we would like the outer world to see. So our focus would definitely be on the outward mobility, but also an equal focus towards the inward mobility in the next few years.
Thank you. If I can just add to what ma'am said. So we had done something similar for a cohort of US students, wherein they wanted to know, these are primarily nursing students from US, and they wanted to know how Indian medical system works. How does it work, and how does it not bother or cause any side effect? So they came to our university, spent about 2 weeks categorically to understand the basics of Ayurveda or the Indian medical system, and how naturopathy and yogic sciences work. So I think they were quite elated, and they were taken aback that all right, there is a separate system than allopathy also, and it works very well. So that is something, like I mentioned earlier also, Indian knowledge system, Indian medical system is what that we should rely on to get inbound mobility. To answer your question, ma'am, I think this is like a follow-on on what I mentioned earlier, that the biggest challenge to look out for and to make sure that we have a strong international office is to build the ecosystem. Adding on to what Dr. Bhawna also said, that if we have the ecosystem for internationalization which is top down, it will definitely help the university to have you know, more stabilized international relationships which can go long term and which are not affected by geopolitical turbulences. If the university to university connect is very strong, it will not be affected by other things. So I think that's my take on it, that we should have a very strong relationship with the university.
Thank you so much. Yes, ma'am.
Ma'am, for your question, in my point of view, firstly we should globalize our curriculum. Then we should be associated with All India Association, AIUs like. We should register with Study in India program for this step. And we can go for some forums to attend. We should attend some forums where foreign delegates come. We get a chance to meet them and know what they exactly want from our students. So this can be done.
Okay. So getting more exposure, globalizing our curriculum, and AIU association wherein we can get, you know, get to know more of international partners, and also Study in India portal is such where we can reflect our universities, what all international initiatives are there, so that we reflect.
And before
it
that,
and
we should go for accreditation of our courses. That is the main point we should.
That is what international partners are looking at. Yeah. Thank you. Dr. Bhawna.
I have the opportunity to work with more than 120 foreign universities, and I can assure everybody here that India is the crown jewel in everybody's things. It is not only for association, it is for the interest that they want. My concern is that I agree with everything that you've said, but I would like to see a more united ecosystem, and that is why AIU or CIPU or all of us here sharing ideas is where it comes from. We have about 48,000 higher education institutions, we have around 1100 universities. The Study in India, as both of you have said, it is not only about having Nepal, Bhutan, Africa. That's a myth. If only 48,000 students are coming in and we are not able to attract, it's not that we are not being able to have the capacity. You have shown cases like that. I have seen in my tenure we've been able to do that. People want to do interactive systems. And again, it comes back to that not only the collective effort, but the Study in India is not in one university, it is not in one city, it is in India. And if it is in India, that has to be developed at the level of each and every of these 58,000 institutions. A shout out here to all the students who may be actually able to listen to this. I really feel that the young generation of today can attract their own peers from across the universities. A student-driven event can be a big attraction for people to get together and be able to contribute to internationalization.
So, if we talk of these initiatives or priorities, so we can focus on inbound and outbound mobility, whether it is a short term or long term exposure, with focus on rural areas as training grounds and living labs, and building ecosystem, a united ecosystem, and or basically portraying on SII portal, or getting more used to it and getting associated with AIU and the initiatives and globalizing our curriculum. So, as we reflect on our current landscape, it's clear that Indian universities are increasingly engaging globally. So, Dr. Bhawna, how do you see foreign universities establishing campuses in India influencing internationalization?
The biggest passion and vision that I have is the industry-academia collaboration. If you look at any of the good products, patents which have come out, they have come out of industry labs in universities abroad. You look at any leading manufacturer, they have their labs within universities. It is only in India that I fail to see our universities not being the hub of that activity. Our students not really working on those projects which are actually going to be used by the industry. The importance of the triple helix that some of these universities are advocating, we already have 16 letter of intents which have been granted. The second area that I see besides this is the fact of capacity building in faculty. I remember when I joined academia in 2003, it was very sad to know, especially in business school, that people who were either rejected by the system were joining, or only people who were very passionate, which were a few. Because the starting salary of a MBA graduate is more than what a faculty earns. I believe that if you are able to attract the right quality of higher education institutions, which are able to encourage that industry-academia collaboration, they are able to encourage the quality teaching, and students get inspired, our own institutions will also rise, and the faculty, like all of us who are passionate here and are speaking about it, will be able to also really think of academia as a profession that they should contribute to.
Yeah, so that's true. So some of the campus which are currently or which are there building international universities which are building their campuses in India, so they are eyeing at these areas where most of the industries are situated, and we also have some examples from international universities which are housed or which are situated in areas where there are more of industry, so that their students can get to work there easily, and they get more of internships and more of exposure to the students.
The industrial hubs and education cities. If you go to Oxford, it's not like one college. If you go to Stanford, it's a full city. And that is what we see some of our states taking an initiative on, and which is very welcome. And building that entrepreneurial education hub, it is the gift city where Deakin set up its first section, was not started with the intention of actually attracting a university. It was only when they actually had a lot of companies that they did. The gift city chairperson told me himself that he said that you cannot have a proper ecosystem if you don't have a university, and that is when they decided to include a university. Now the day is not far when we see, okay, this university, even this area that you see, Manav, Rachna or KR Mangalam or SGT or things, they would have been the reason for making that area evolved. And that is what we will actually be doing, all of us a favor, in case we are able to meet that particular.
And Gift City is also signing MOUs with international partners. So to add perspective to our conversation, could each one of you share examples of successful strategies or partnerships that have made a tangible impact? Just one sentence, something.
Okay. You mean to say presently, which is...
Presently, any strategy of yours?
Well, I mentioned this in my earlier conversation as well. I strongly believe when we start looking at internationalization, we should ideally take small, steady baby steps, not just jump and dive into the whole ocean, and keeping our priorities aligned with the because we want ultimately it to work as a strategic input. So keeping it aligned with the vision of our university as an organization. And when we take these baby steps, like for example, instead of seeing ultimately joint and dual and bigger way things coming in, maybe as a short engagements, which just mobilize both students and faculty, mobilize them from their present situation. And as Reshu ma'am also put it up, it's just not the students, it's the faculty, because faculty plays a critical role because students look up to them. They are literally like a mentors, and they see them as a great examples. So with faculty mobility and also mobilizing the students, gearing up and creating a kind of an environment, and ultimately, as Professor Bhawna said, putting up an ecosystem. So that is so important. And these things will ultimately become like, automatically it will fall, they will automatically come out of this ecosystem as a byproduct. So that's my take.
A strategy which has worked for us actually started as a research collaboration. There were two faculty members who were doing some research for years together, that developed into a faculty exchange, that developed to student exchange, and now we are on the verge of signing a dual degree with them. So I think taking it forward, once a relationship was nurtured by two faculty members, they were committed. Once they were committed, they understood the advantages of having this collaboration. Then it was brought to the international office. Once it was brought to the international office, we took it forward, taking it higher up and making I think the management understand that this is a very crucial relationship for us. And I think that is one of the strategies which has worked. It is not one, but I think I can cite at least 4 examples where faculty to faculty collaboration has worked very well for us.
So it's like formalizing their partnerships, and it's bottoms up approach, you can say. Yeah,
that has worked for us.
That has worked. Yes.
Ma'am, we have organized some expert lecture with Eheim University, Japan in last 6 months, where some lectures are delivered by Japan professionals and some are delivered by our side. When they deliver lecture for us, we have the audience, we have the student faculty, and when we deliver a lecture for them, they have the audience, their students listens, their faculty also join that lecture over Zoom platform. From this we get a chance to know the technology they are using, or they are working on some new technology, and we also get an exposure out of this.
Reciprocal arrangement
Yes.
of faculty members taking
Yes.
sessions and interacting.
Yes,
And this is how the relationships
in our
evolve.
in our that lecture we plan the next date and next
Okay,
lecture
okay.
itself.
So this is step by
Yes,
step you are building
yes.
on to these relationships. Yes.
And Japan is a very exciting
Yes,
market.
yes. and unexplored also.
Unexplored, and yes, and we have seen a
Yes.
absolutely, and at Acumen we are proud to represent government of Japan. It's not possible for me to summarize with one strategy, but if I were to do in one sentence, it's for me lifelong learning. You have to evolve and you have to adapt and you have to integrate. But 2 points, if I pick up. One is we in India and sometimes even across the world, there is just no MIS. The data is not there. So a faculty may be talking to a faculty, but in some corner an international office or nobody in internationalization would even know about it.
Yes.
You miss that opportunity. How are we able to, with all the AI and the Geminis of the world, the data has to be with that international office to be able to also mine and do the right thing. I think we don't even know the capabilities that are there in India. If we are already producing so many scientists of the world, I'm sure that collaboration already exists. The second is the alumni. I think we are not doing justice to the diaspora, whether in India or abroad. And there is such a tremendous amount of pride that you will see in some of the students of our own country. We should absolutely take advantage of that and do it. There are now examples of Indian institutions opening campuses abroad, and that's a very proud moment for all of us. And the alumni there are supporting these initiatives, whether it is the IIT or the IIM or the Amities or the Symbiosis or the Christ or Asharta. That's a huge community. Imagine what that alumni could do in their own country to be able to bring their international connections here and do that for us.
Thank you. So very rightly said. So it has to be imbibed within the entire ecosystem. It has to be, the strategy has to be followed both ways. So what we are doing, that should be known to all the faculty members. Every nook and corner of the university or institute should be knowing what international office is doing, and also what the faculty members are doing. They should be, that should also be known to us. So this has to be, both ways. Communication has to be clear, and also yes, international alumni. So whether we are sending our students abroad there, so they are the biggest support systems for our current students, and also they can also help us in building connections with international partners wherever they have studied, wherever they are working, whether it is a university or it is an industry. So they can be our biggest support systems. So yes. Thank you everyone for this wonderful panel discussion. So major takeaways of the session would be like today's discussion has highlighted the importance of strategic partnerships and global engagement. As we have seen that it is not just about, internationalization is not just about sending students. So it is about creating meaningful and sustainable and impactful connections. So India, we all know that India is emerging as a key player in global higher education landscape, with universities moving beyond traditional boundaries or traditional models to proactively shape their global roles. Now, again, there has to be a strategy in place. We all agree with that. So the ecosystem has to be, it has to be the entire ecosystem, a unified or united ecosystem. Internationalization has to be imbibed within the ecosystem with all the stakeholders, in conversation with the international office in conversation with the faculty members, students, other stakeholders, etc. And yes, internationalization of university is again driven by multiple factors, both internal and external. Internally, we are guided by strategic vision, leadership priorities, our research ambitions, and also the need to equip our students so that they are more globally competent. Externally, there are geopolitical shifts, emerging markets, and there are trends in international student mobility that influence our institutional strategies. At the same time, students' aspirations are there, parents' aspirations are there, industry expectations are there, and of course, there are financial constraints which shape how universities approach internationalization. So, again there has to be a strategy well in place, there has to be proper deadlines, there has to be proper monitoring, and there has to be periodic reviews if we want to make our MOUs active, and there has to be a symbiotic association between these MOUs. And not every institution may have the resources, whether it is about outbound mobility or inbound mobility. Again, this is one major factor, and that is why internationalization at home, that is which is like embedding global perspectives within the curriculum and the campus experience. This becomes really very important, as pointed out by Dr. Bhawna. So, ultimately internationalization is no longer a choice, but it is an imperative. So, Indian universities must make it happen through thoughtful strategies, meaningful partnerships, and innovative approaches. Now, a heartfelt thank you to CIPU for providing this platform for such a meaningful dialogue. I would like to extend my sincere gratitude to all the panelists here, esteemed panelists, and also to our Honorable Vice Chancellor sir for guiding, for his support, and to our administration, our media team, IT team, and our administration team for their unwavering support in making this session possible. Once again, thank you everyone for being a part of this conversation, and let's continue connecting ideas, creating impact, and charting global pathways. Thank you everyone.